Hi there and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire and I'm glad you've joined me. So today I'm sharing with you some fun ideas for hinged die cut cards. So these are a little bit different than regular cards. Instead of opening in a traditional way, a large die cut on the front flips up to reveal a personal message or additional sentiment. The best thing about this card design is it's very easy to do and you can use any large die cut shape. The hinges for the flap on the front are hidden so nobody sees it, so it's a fun, unexpected feature. I will demonstrate how to make one easily and then also how to make a bunch of hinged die cut cards quickly and easily. I made a lot using the same bundle of products because I really like them, so I'm going to show you how you can really stretch your supplies and get a lot out of them. Before we get started, I did want to mention that I am trying out a new work surface here. I usually work on a black grid glass work surface, which I absolutely adore, but I wanted to try a white grid glass work surface. Now, I will say my lighting is messed up in this video. I got to work on that, and I'm very sorry about that, but I do like the white option too. If you are interested in learning more about this white glass mat, stick around to the end of my video. I will talk about it and how to get a 20% discount via one of my friends. And again, I'm sorry about the lighting, but I still think you'll be able to follow along just fine. Okay, back to the cards. Now, all of my cards today feature some Concord and Ninth products, and mainly the triple step blooming heart die set and stamp set. Here's the die set, which you can use alone. You have the outline heart with faux stitching on the inside edge. And then the other die cuts all those flower openings in the shape of a heart. So you can use them together or separately. There's also a faux stitch banner die in there and two coordinating dies that go with the stamp set. There are 3 large images in here that you can build together to create a floral heart. Then there are individual flowers, so you can create a background or border of flowers and some sentiments. I really felt like this bundle had a lot of bang for the buck, like I could make a lot of cards with them. And when I find a product like this, I want to make as many cards as possible and experiment with the ways to use them. And that's what you'll see today. I end up making quite a few cards and I have more in the works. I did want to mention that all the cardstocks I use today are from Concord and Ninth. They have a beautiful color selection, and you really can't go wrong mixing and matching all the colors. Really makes it easy. Now, I did a lot of die cutting for this video so that I could make many cards with different inlay techniques and so on, and I'll show you all those. Now, I wanted a lot of hearts where it had the flowers cut out in the middle and then the heart cut around the edge. So I decided to tape these 2 dies together with some tape along the back so I could die cut them together many times and not have to position them each time. I did pre-cut 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch cardstock pieces, and I cut the hearts from the top center, but I kept the negative space. We'll use that later in this video for other cards. I don't like to let anything go to waste. Here I'm taking the heart die cut out, as you see there, but I'm also keeping all the little bits and pieces, and I'm poking them out and putting them in a little tray. I love doing die cut inlay. It is like a puzzle to me. It's very therapeutic, but I'll share some tricks if you don't like to do that so much. But I went ahead and I did a lot of die cutting. By the way, if you put tape on the back of your die like this to hold them together, use anti-static powder tool and it'll keep those pieces from sticking in there as much. I forgot to do that the first time. But here you can see they start to come out easily after this. I will die cut many of these hearts and they will all be used for the hinged die cut card design we're doing today. But I also have some regular panels here where I don't use the outside heart, just the floral heart in the middle, so I can do some flat traditional cards too. So you can make many different cards at once if it's something that you enjoy doing. I also die cut a bunch of plain white hearts, the solid one like you see here. Those will help with our hinged card design later on in this video. So really what I'm doing is getting all my pieces prepped so we can do the technique and assemble the cards. But remember, if you prefer to do one card instead of many at a time, you can totally do this technique that way too. Okay, next I need some hearts with adhesive on them. So I have some white cardstock here where I have cut adhesive sheets from Altenew, and I'm covering the back of the white cardstock with adhesive sheet. That way the adhesive is already on it when we do our die cutting, and it makes the process a lot faster. Now we'll die cut hearts from these, but keep in mind, keep that negative space because we can use those for cards later on, which you'll see again. So now I have a bunch of hearts with adhesive on the front of them. Now I'm using the corner of my scoreboard to line up the two hearts. You can just line them up by eye if you want, but I'm taking my heart with adhesive and laying it right in the corner and then putting our intricate die cut right on top of it. It just helps to line up the hearts nicely so we have a nice fit. So remember, anywhere there's opening on this top die cut, there's adhesive that is exposed because we use that adhesive sheet. So now I can take all those little bits and pieces from our die cutting and pop them in place. This technique is called die cut inlay. Some people love it. I'm one of them. Some people don't want to do it because it takes time. I found it took me about 10 minutes to assemble each one of these, but I will show you another way to do this. That's much faster in a moment. But if you're looking for some downtime in your craft room where you don't have to think too hard or be too creative, this is a great option. So I just filled in all of those openings where the adhesive is exposed, and you have a nice smooth finish when you're done. One thing I do recommend is if you like to do die cut inlay, be sure to inlay some specialty cardstocks too because it really is impressive in real life. So I used holographic cardstock and I die cut the little floral heart from that, and I popped out some of the little dots and inlaid them in my background. So when I tilt this in the light, some of those tiny little die cut pieces have some shine to it. It's really cool in real life. And I just use a jewel picker to pick up those tiny pieces and pop them in place. So I continued to fill in all the openings. Again, it's a process I like. However, if you're looking for a faster way to get the same look, let me show you a little trick. In this case, I have my intricate white heart die cut, and I have a solid dark green heart. I'm going to glue those together, but first I'm going to put colorful cardstock behind the big flowers. Remember how earlier I inlaid each of the petals of each of those flowers? This time I'm putting solid flower die cuts, which is in the same die set, gluing those to the back of the opening. So now color will show through on each of those flowers. In this case, it was handy to have those little flower die cuts, but I could have also just die cut circles or hand cut pieces very quickly. So I covered all of the flower openings. Now I'm putting adhesive on the entire back of this die cut and we'll glue it onto the green heart. That way, all of the other openings have green. And by the way, I decided to change it to a light green heart instead of the dark green. So now you can see all the leaf openings are green and the little berry ones are too. I did decide I wanted some of those leaves to be green, so I ended up die cut inlaying just those extra leaves, some of them, probably half of the leaves, and the little tiny flowers. But I saved a huge amount of time not doing each of those flower petals. So here you can see after I added some of the die cut inlay, but again, it was a huge time saver. And I have one more time saver to share with you with die cut inlay. I did this on some of mine. It works on a lot of different backgrounds where you want to put the pieces back in. So here I did a yellow die cut, and see how some of the pieces stay in the die cut? I have here a heart where there's these openings. See those little yellow centers of the flowers? There's adhesive exposed there. I'm going to take the yellow die cut, line it up, and then poke each of those flower centers, the yellow little circle, poke it down into the adhesive behind it. And when I lift this die cut, all of my little yellow circles will be stuck in the openings of those flowers. Check it out. Super fast. If the pieces are still stuck in your die, you could place your die on top, upside down, and poke them through, and it'll work the same way. So those are just a few die cut inlay tips, and I'll link here to a video with more ideas. Now I also wanted to mention you could use this blooming heart die without doing inlay. You can totally skip that if you want and still get great results. That's one of the things I like about Concord and Ninth products. You can use them in many ways and get different looks. In this case, I just die cut a peach heart with the flowers in the inside, and I'm going to glue it onto a solid white heart. You could glue additional layers on top if you want for more dimension, but just having that simple white cardstock showing through is great, and we'll add some pearls to it later for a little bit of interest. So I created a bunch of these die cut hearts. Each one's a little bit different and they were so much fun to put together. So it's kind of like I'm getting my ducks in a row. And now we can move on to the hinged die cut technique and then finish off the cards. I will say, whenever doing die cut inlay, afterwards you really want to press down over the whole surface to make sure all of those little die cuts are stuck in there nicely, because you don't want any of them to fall out. But here you can see a bunch of the different die cuts that I ended up arranging. Next, I created a bunch of stamped hearts too for the hinged card designs. These were really easy to do because they have this triple step stamping where you stamp 3 large images in the same area and it forms a colorful piece quickly. I wanted to show you an inking trick that I did. This is the first layer of the triple heart stamping. I wanted to stamp this in 2 colors of green. So what I did was first stamp it in a light green, that's Concord and 9th Sprout. Then I'm taking a slightly darker green and a blending brush and putting some of that ink onto the stamp in some areas. And then I'll stamp that and I'll repeat that. And what ends up happening is you just have a little variation in the green, some lighter areas and some darker areas. So it looks like we did more steps of stamping, but really I just used the blending brush to apply a little bit of dark ink here and there. Works like a charm and works with other inking tools too, but I found blending brushes really work exceptionally well with it. After stamping several pieces with the green, I came in with the second image. It's very easy to line up, which I'll show you in a moment, and I just stamped these with one color. After doing this image on all of the pieces, I moved on to the third layer of the image to fill in the rest of the heart. One of the things I wanted to mention about the Concord and 9th inks that I'm using is that the ink wipes off the stamp pretty easily, so you can switch between colors easily without worrying about the ink being left behind on the stamp. So here I'm doing each of these a little bit different, so I have a nice assortment of colors. And this is also a great time to try out different color combinations too. Now I found lining up these images for this triple step stamping was easy, but if you want to, they have these little arrows in the stamp. See that little piece sticking up at the top center? You can use those little arrows in the stamp to help you line them up each time. You just do a little point on your paper and each time you match up that point. The arrow doesn't stamp, it's just on the back of the stamp, but it really is helpful in lining it up. But again, I didn't find a need for that, but I like that they do that to make it easier for everyone. I also wanted to mention that in the Concord and 9th stamp set are little detail floral images that you could add on there to build up more layers. I just wanted to show you that's another way to kind of use these products creatively in many different ways. I didn't add any of those smaller images, but do know that they're there in case you wanted to do more stamping. After I was done with all my stamping, I used the outline heart to cut them out, and now I have both die cut and stamped hearts for the hinged card design. I will first show you how to create one hinged die cut card at a time. Then I will show you how you can make a bunch of them very quickly. But I thought I would show the single first because most people only make one card at a time. For the hinges, I like to use recycled acetate. This is some acetate from packaging I had. A medium weight is fine, or you could use a lighter weight. Whatever you have, give it a try. I cut it to be about 3 inches wide, and I'm scoring it right down the center at 1.5 inches. And I scored that quite a few times because it's pretty thick. And then I will fold it along that score line and reinforce it. So now I have a folded piece of acetate. I'll now cut this folded piece into little strips. So I do between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. It really doesn't matter. Nobody's going to see them. But between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch seems to be a really good workable hinge for pretty much any die cut shape you would use. For my particular card, I'm doing hearts. So I want to have 2 hinges at the top of the heart. For a circle or square, you could do 1, but I always find if you could do 2, it's best. So here's what my little hinges look like. They're little V-shaped acetate pieces. You could use cardstock, but you might see them on the card, so that's why I like to use the clear acetate. Okay, so now it's time to assemble our little hinge. On one of the flaps, I'm putting some strong double-sided adhesive, and then I will attach that to the top back of our heart. So you can see the adhesive is on that outside of the hinge. And I'm putting this on the top back of our heart, so the score line of the hinge is just a little bit above the top of the heart. So I'll have the other half of the hinge kind of sticking out here. See how it's kind of sticking out there? And now we can add our second hinge. I'm doing it the same way, putting adhesive on one side of the hinge, and I'm placing on the back of the heart so that the score line or crease of the acetate is slightly above the top of the heart. Now to hide those taped down halves of the hinges, I've die cut another white heart and I'm gluing it back there. So now we have those two little flaps from the hinges still sticking out, but the other half is hidden. So basically we have a heart with 2 feet, clear feet sticking out of the top back. Okay, so now I'm going to lay this down with my flaps sticking out, and right on top of those flaps I'm putting some double-sided adhesive. And now we need another white heart die cut. Remember how I said I did a bunch of those earlier? And I will take that other heart die cut and line it up with our hearts here. There's no glue on this die cut. I'm just going to line it up right on there. Then I will take my 2 hinges, my 2 flaps, and fold them down and press them onto it. So basically I have a little mini card here, and you really can't see those clear hinges at the top. It works really well. So now all I have to do is glue this on the front of my card. And keep in mind, you could do this with a circle with 1 hinge at the top, a square with 2 hinges at the top, whatever you have. For the background of many of my cards, I use the Concord and 9th Plaid card front. Now there are 2 dies that you can buy together or separate, but they look really cool layered together. Very easy to do. I mostly did monochromatic today, but you could definitely do bold colors with this and have a lot of fun. So I created a card panel that is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's peach, as you can see here, and I did the 2 plaid die cuts on the front of that. I've already glued them in place. Now I'm adding that on to a white panel that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is not a note card because for me, this little hinge die cut is the note card portion. You could definitely still put this on a note card if you want. Now I'm putting strong adhesive on the back of that heart and adding it to our card. By the way, that's Gina K Connect liquid adhesive, which is super strong, and I can be sure it'll stay in place. After I have that placed, I'll add my sentiments. Now, one of the sentiments I used in this video is from this new stamp set from Concord and 9th in the coordinating die set. It's called Seasonal Branches. I didn't use this stamp set today, but I encourage you to check it out because you can make these colorful branches for all the seasons, so for many different occasions. And in the coordinating die set, they have this You're So Kind and Thinking of You die, which I love. I love that they include sentiment dies in their coordinating die sets. So I used the You're So Kind for this particular card. I die cut it twice from white cardstock and once from Erin Lee Creative Black Glossy cardstock. I stacked those together and added it to the front. Since there's so much color going on behind it, I thought that stacking the die cuts would help make it stand out. Now I'm finishing this off by adding some yellow Trinity Stamps pearls here and there, just for a little bit of added shine. So I did that on most of my cards. I'm a big fan of pearls and gems, but you could totally skip them if you want, or even use like liquid pearls or Nouveau drops if that's what you have. So those are the steps I would go about making a single hinged die cut card. But next I wanted to show you how I finished off all of the rest of these cards. So let's make a bunch of hinges at once. I again have a piece of acetate that's about 3 inches wide, and I'm scoring it right down the center and then folding it right in half. Instead of cutting right now, I'm going to put my adhesive on now so I don't have to do it on each individual hinge as we go. So I have some leftover scraps of that Altenew double-sided adhesive. I end up with a lot of scraps like this, and I keep them for things like this. So I'm putting one big piece of the adhesive right along one side of the V. So you can see it's right on the outside. Then the other one, I'm going to put on the other flap of the acetate, but on the inside. Now I have a piece that I can cut into little 1/4 or 1/2 inch strips, and I'll have a bunch of hinges made, all with adhesive already on it where it needs to be. And that really was a time saver as opposed to using that double-sided tape roll on each of the hinges twice. I will actually repeat this process and then do it a third time so that I'll have extra hinges on hand for when I make hinged die cuts in the future. This size hinge works with a lot of different die cut shapes. It's a good general size. So now I'll just assemble a bunch of these hinged die cut hearts. I put the 2 flaps on the back of my heart. I put another heart on top of that to sandwich those halves of the hinges in place. And now I can remove the release paper from inside of those flaps sticking out and add the additional heart to the back. So I just line it up and then press the adhesive of the flaps down, and there we have our little hinge pieces. So I continued to do all the hearts this way, so all of my hearts had the hinges ready to go. All I have to do is add the sentiments and put it on the background. Let me show you some of the different sentiments I used, and then I'll show you all the cards. This is the Concord and 9th Simply Said stamp set. I've used it many times in videos, and it was on my favorites list. I used some of the little strip sentiments on here for some of the sentiment strips on my cards. I also used some sentiments from this Concord and 9th Painted Petals Turnabout kit. It's got a bunch of things in the kit, but I used the stamp set in coordinating dies quite a bit in this video. First, there is the Hello and Thank You die, which you'll see me use later. But also look at the stamp set. There are those bold little sentiment strips, and there's a die that cuts them out quickly. I love this. I hope they do more like this. So you just stamp this little sentiment blob, this little block of sentiments. I like stamping it in black and then clear heat embossing it, but you could do whatever you want. In fact, do several at once because then you can have those sentiments ready in the future. So I added some clear embossing to my black ink, and then I will heat set all of these. And then check it out. They have this die that you easily line up with your stamping, run it through your die cut machine, and then you end up having all of these individual messages to add to cards. So those are some of the different sentiments you'll see in all of my completed cards, which I'm about to go through. Got a lot to show you, but each one is a little different. First, here are all of the ones that I did with the heart with the die cutting. Some are inlaid, some I put the color behind it, but I wanted to show you the different variations. All of them have that hinged die cut on the front, not a traditional note card. You just lift up the flap, and that's where I'll put my personal message. You can see some pearls that I added for a little added interest. Here I used that Hello die from the Painted Petals kit I just showed you. I die cut it twice from white cardstock and once from black Glossy, layered those together so that it really would stand out on the heart. Here's another. This time I did a soft pool colored background. Again, all of these cardstocks are from Concord and 9th, and they mix and match very nicely. By the way, most of my cards today are hello and thanks. That's what I do a lot of because that's what I send the most of, but you could definitely do any occasion on these. I think they'd even work for wedding or baby. You could even create the cards, leave off the sentiment, and when you have a particular occasion necessary, you can add that sentiment right onto it. Keep in mind you can also use your scraps for all of these little die cut pieces. It's a great opportunity to use up some of those small pieces you've kept. I just made a bunch of the same color. Now this one's very simple. I just put it on a plain white background and then added the hello friend that we die cut a moment ago. And that way I didn't cover as much of the background on the heart, so a lot of it would show. I really think die cut inlay has such a beautiful look to it in real life, and this way you can see more of it. Since I had die cut some colored hearts to get the little bits and pieces, I decided to put those to use on some. So in this case, I have the yellow background, the last card was the green background, whereas most of the others are the white. Okay, now for our stamped heart card examples. On most of these, I decided to keep the background simple, and instead of the plaid layering, I just stamped an old dot stamp from Hero Arts in a matching ink. Now notice these two are a little bit different. It's hard to see in the video, but the card on the left, some of the flowers are cut out and popped up. That's because the Concord and 9th die set has those heart dies, so I was able to add those layers. So I'm only showing you a few ways these stamps and dies can be used together. I encourage you to look at some of the other ideas. I think it's hard to decide sometimes what to invest in when it comes to card making, but if you see a stamp and die bundle that can be used in many ways, I think those are the ones that draw my attention the most, so I can get more life out of it, as you see me doing today. So as you can see, many of these cards though are similar, but I changed them each up by the colors I used, by the sentiments I used, and by the backgrounds. If you make too many of the exact same card, it can get very boring, but by changing little things up between, it keeps it more interesting. And then for those of you who don't like doing die cut inlay, I totally get it. You could just use the colored intricate heart on top of white and then add some pearls to it. And look how beautiful that is. This is a great way to do even a set of note cards for someone. Do one in pink, one in blue, one in red, and do like a set of cards that way, a rainbow set. Makes for a great gift, and it allows you to get more out of the products you have. Now earlier, remember how I used holographic cardstock to get some of the little tiny inlay pieces? Well, I had those leftover holographic die cut hearts, so I decided to put them to use. Look how cool this looks. It's that holographic die cut heart on white cardstock. I added some blue pearls and then a blue mat around the edge. The holographic cardstock picks up all these different colors and is really impressive in real life. And then here we just have a yellow design. Sometimes it's fun to do a color that you normally don't do, and it can be a favorite color of a recipient. Okay, I have a few bonus cards for those of you who stuck it out on the video this far. These are not hinged die cut cards, they're just flat cards, but I wanted to show you how I used up some of my leftover pieces from before to make additional cards. Now remember how I had all of those white cardstock pieces with the heart die cut out? Well, I'm just going to trim those down a little bit and use those as layers behind one of our solid colored die cut pieces. Let me show you what I'm doing. So I have all of these white pieces. I'm trimming them down a bit. Here I have a solid green one where I die cut the heart and I just have a window. I'll glue 3 of these white windows right on the back of it, and that will raise up that die cut opening and really make for a fun and simple card design. I then can glue it onto a note card, and look at this. You see how those windows have a little shadow behind it because we built up those layers? All you need to do is add a sentiment. I also had some colored cardstock pieces where I had die cut the floral heart, and I was using those little floral heart pieces for my inlay. Well, now I have the negative space left over and I can use it on a card. So here I have a white note card. I'm putting Altenew double-sided adhesive right on the entire back of it. I'll lay this leftover piece on top. So in all of those little floral openings, we have exposed adhesive, and I can do the inlay technique again. If you don't want to do the inlay technique, you could put some glitter in those openings and press it down. So let me show you some of the bonus cards I did with my leftover pieces. First, we have the one where I did the inlay with the blue background. Look how beautiful this is because it's really nice and smooth. And then I just added a few pearls and that hello die cut that's stacked with the black glossy cardstock on top. I think this is one of those designs that is kind of timeless and can do for any occasion, so I'll probably be making more of those. On this one, I just put a piece of peach glitter cardstock behind that opening. So I did no inlay here. It was super fast to do. So you can see the glitter showing through. It's just glitter cardstock behind it. I then added the simple sentiment, put it on a note card, and added a few pearls. Definitely the fastest of all of the cards. Now on this other one, I wanted to try inlay with the glitter paper. So instead on this one, I inlaid all of those little glitter paper die cuts, but it's something I enjoyed doing. The difference isn't much, but for me, I really like the look of die cut inlay. And last but not least, I promised I would talk about this white glass mat. It really is a great product. It comes in different sizes. It's glass with the white and the grid printed underneath, so it'll last over time. I normally work on a black glass mat from Tim Holtz. I love it so much. However, I was looking for something bigger to use in videos, so I was trying this. Now, this glass board is from the Glass Board Studio and was made in collaboration with my friend Amber Rain Davis of Notable Ink. She posted about it, so I decided to buy one and try it. And she has a discount code for 20% off. I will put the information below so you can check out Amber's work and also check out the board. So I just wanted to share that because I knew I'd probably get some questions. Okay, for the rest of the products, they're also in the YouTube description below. But as always, I encourage you to go to my blog because I have photos of all of these cards, so you could keep them as reference. If you want to check out some other videos, including another hinged die cut card idea, I will link that here in the middle. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again very soon.